Thunder of Gigantic Serpent is one of the most bizarre movies I've ever seen, and you guys know that's really saying something, because after sitting through over 130 movies throughout the years, I've shown you guys some pretty weird shit. Otherwise known as Terror Serpent when it was released in 1988, this movie is the brainchild of a man known as Godfrey Ho, infamous in Hong Kong as being their version of Bruno Mattei. And if you haven't yet been preached the gospel that is Bruno Mattei, check out my review for Cruel Jaws. Like Bruno, Mr. Ho is notorious for Frankensteining movies out of other movies, creating messy, fucked up works of art, such as Robo-Vampires, Soldier Terminators, and like a million movies about ninjas. But we aren't here to talk about them, even though this guy's filmography is ripe with comedic potential. No, we're here to talk about fucking Thunder of Gigantic Serpent. Okay, that's the raddest shit I ever heard. Like I said, Giant Serpent feels like an amalgamation of 3 different movies stitched together into one incoherent mess. But info on this thing is so damn scarce that I really can't be entirely sure. One subplot involves some terrorist dude named Solomon, probably the most terroristy name ever, next to maybe Osama, as he tries to track down a secret formula so he can rule the world. No joke, he actually says that.
Once I get the formula, I will be in control of the world's food production. Think of the power I will have. Ha! Every nation on earth will bow to my will.
Now that is some glorious dub. Weirdest part is that the dubbing matches the actors' mouths most of the time, which just kind of further cements the mystery of whether or not this is a Frankenstein project or not. But I tend to lean on the edge of yes, this is more than one movie stitched together, because all this Solomon shit has nothing to do with the rest of the movie other than the dubbing, which just kind of connects it together. Then, I mean, they just kind of throw in some American soldier named Ted Fast, who just kind of wanders around Hong Kong, getting into random gunfights for no explicable reason. And you can tell this movie's low budget by the telltale dudes flailing their arms around and jumping to their deaths every time they get shot. I swear it's a staple of shit movies. Then it just kind of randomly jumps over to another subplot about a bunch of scientists creating an enlarging formula that does as advertised. It makes your dick big. Just turns small crap into bigger crap. So it kind of makes your dick big. It's basically Viagra, but for monsters. A bunch of baddies show up and gun down the scientists, but not before one of them can run away with the formula. God damn, she hit the air so hard her car exploded. Then we meet a little girl named, Ting Ting, and her pet snake that knows English, apparently.
Looks good on you. Do you like it?
Did they tie a string to a real snake to do that? Because that would be hilarious. While out and about with her friends doing... Can someone please, for the love of God, tell me what the fuck they're actually doing here? Anyway, she finds the formula, and her snake, named Mosley, or I don't know, it sounds like she's saying Mothra, so I'm just going to say Mosla, ends up turning big. And don't worry if you do forget the snake's name by chance, because this kid will make sure you remember.
Mosla! Come save me!
Hey, save your breath. It can't hear you.
Mosla!
You know, I'm not one for beating children, but in this circumstance, I wanted to. And now... we're graced with a low-budget version of E.T., but with an annoying-as-fuck little girl and a snake that somehow developed vocal cords and sounds like a bird getting kicked in the nuts. Also, I know the movie is so dark that you'd have an easier time seeing in a sealed box, but did the snake just fly? It takes almost an hour of shootouts and watching Ting Tang, or whatever the hell her name is, playing with ball with a snake until we get this brilliant effect, and finally the snake grows to kaiju size. This is easily the movie's most entertaining sequence. I mean, who doesn't want to watch a hand puppet, but without the hand in it, destroy a city during the night, while the military fires at it during the day? It's amazing. It's just too bad that the movie's so goddamn murky that you can barely see what's happening. You know, this whole scene looks oddly familiar. Considering the guy who made D-War also brought us fucking Reptilian, I really wouldn't be surprised if he pulled inspiration from a movie as dumb as this. But I can't believe I'm gonna say this. I actually kind of want to recommend Giant Serpent in a so shit it's gold kind of way. I mean, it's great in the same kind of way that Jaws 5 Cruel Jaws was great. The editing somehow makes a plot about a giant snake confusing. The dubbing makes me want to flick my balls repeatedly to give me something else to focus on, and the snake is about as convincing a monster as one of those hand puppets that McDonald's gave out when Dinosaur got released back in like 2000, but that just kind of adds to its charm. And, I mean, it's certainly not boring for the most part, which is a sin that far too many of these crappy movies end up committing. So, I mean, if you've got some buddies, some time to kill, some booze, I mean, it's pretty good for that. Really, at this point, I should just make a playlist of, like, every movie that's just really good to watch with buddies and booze, because there's just quite a few of them.